Hey there, YouTube. I'm stuck in the past, and we're getting ready to do some more hay. Now, normally when you see me, we're gearing up to do hay, and that's pretty much exactly what happens. We have a little intro, and poof, we're in the hayfield. I don't do too much of the background stuff anymore, and I would like to get back into that. So actually today, we're probably a week away from really getting into hay, but I need to go prepare some stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop on this old thing, go way out past there, where I keep my stuff, and we're going to bring the hay bine up and just go over it, through it, and make sure it's ready to go. So join me for some maintenance and a little bit of pre-hay activity. So one of those things those fast hitch people don't tell you when it comes to old farmalls is when you want to do 3-point stuff, you have to use these links. That's fine and dandy, but when you use them, your drawbar goes away. So before we get out there, I better go put that on here, otherwise we'll be a little lost when we get out there. So, remember, never start the tractor from the ground, because if you do, you could die. But I'm going to do it anyway. Main thing is you just have to take your links out, throw them unceremoniously off to the side, and then take your drawbar. Now conveniently, everybody at Farmall and International and such took it upon themselves to make these very light. So they really only weigh about 75 or 80 pounds. So that's a no-brainer. Put them in. Alright, let's get out there. One of the biggest tricks to being a good farmer is to line up to your implement on the first shot. The bigger trick is to do it while on camera. A few inches off, but I think we're going to be able to cheat it. See, what I like to do is this method known as stick the pin in and then just shake it till something good happens. Oh, so close. Maybe if I drop her down a little. The camera is making this hard, and that's exactly what I'm going to blame this on. Good enough. A little bit of magic goes a long way. One nice benefit to the fast hitch is it is always on a hydraulic system. So, I can avoid doing a bunch of jacking by using it. Now, in case it wasn't obvious when we got out here, whoever parked this thing out here failed to realize that the travel jack, or rather the travel lock, wasn't engaged, and over the last few weeks or a month that it sat here, we drifted on one side. That's better. Alright, let's bring her back up to the yard and go over some key points on this thing and make sure she's ready to cut some hay. It appears I had a hitchhiker. He followed me all the way up from the woods, and I think he's a little confused. So we're going to try to deal with him and figure out where we can put him so he doesn't get hurt. Because I do love these little guys. I mean, what isn't cuter than a skink? Gotta be careful, they're known to jump out at you and attack. There he is. Yeah, we're gonna get him out of here. Come on, fella. It's really oily in there. He probably shouldn't be hanging out in there. I'm not really sure how to go about this because I don't think he really cares for me very much. Like I kind of want to just let him. No. See, he doesn't get along with me very well. So I don't know what to do to grab him out of here. I don't want to. Yeah, he's really not happy with my hand. Well, now you're gonna hurt yourself doing that. Let's see if we can find something that he's more comfortable getting on top of. So I've got an idea. He doesn't seem to hate metal, even greasy metal. So maybe the trick will be to get him to think he should run on this. So maybe we'll do some skink corralling. No, yes. Go on, not under. This is a very wily skink. Oh, now he's gone someplace else. This little guy's giving me the real runaround. Now he's down on the sickle table. If he would just jump off, I think we'd be in good shape. So I'm going to try to get him into the stones where he can just run and find a place. A successful escape. There he goes. He'll find himself a new home somewhere in here. See you later, buddy. So anyway, now with the skink out of the way, we're going to go ahead and check all the fluid levels because I want to make sure everything's where it's supposed to be before we hit the field. I don't know if you guys saw me ever do this in the field, but one thing about old equipment is they didn't really come with a bunch of dipsticks like all the new stuff does. So what you got to do is find yourself a certified dried up stick, and you take that dried up stick and you stick it into whatever you're trying to figure out the level in. So right now I'm checking the wobble box level because it has a bit of a leak. If you remember from the last video, the belt got kind of wet. So I want to make sure there's at least about that much fluid in there. So with that being said, I shouldn't have to add any to finish the season out. It does also confirm that my leak is somewhere up in here, which is more than likely why that belt got so wet. This gearbox, believe it or not, also has a leak, but it's up at this seal. So I know I've got at least this much fluid in there still, so that'll be fine. We'll go ahead and let it run. That's one of the beautiful things about all this old equipment. It tends to have a whole lot more tolerance for, well, people like me. So when you see stuff like these rollers, which are in immaculate condition, this chain that's running a little suspect, and this pulley that probably couldn't have a tighter tolerance if we tried, it all still runs relatively decently. Another thing I want to do before I put this thing out in the field is I want to do something about this mess here and this mess here. So I mentioned earlier about these little road locks. These pieces of angle, I welded a nut to the frame here so I had a hinge point, and then of course I put a little bolt hole down there so that the angle stays. But this is mostly because these hydraulics like to leak down. So when I go down the road, or I just set it up so that it's ready to go down the road, I can let it sit indefinitely without coming back to it and it being pretty much on the ground and not have a tractor to pick it back up. But in the field, when these flip down, you run into the issue where they catch just at the wrong time, and when you're putting your hay bind down, getting into the next row, you end up just having half the hay bind down, half the hay bind up, and it's just a mess. So what I used to do is I'd flip them up here, and I had baling twine, but of course this is kind of independent of this, and everything kind of flexes and moves, and the baling twine would fail. The bungee was working, but over the course of the entire summer it's dry rotted. And over here I went a little overkill with this strap, which I think I'm pretty much going to do on the other side too, but I want to kind of clean all this up a little bit and make it at least just one loop instead of all this flopping around stuff. And I actually happened to lose this triangle on the very first cut I did in Centerville, this other field, the big field that you guys usually see me in. And well, it ended up back in my possession at the end of the last cut, so I'm going to try to throw that back on there just so I can have my little get away with anything triangle. So I still swear to God, if you've got one of these triangles, you can pretty much do whatever you want. The other thing I'm going to do, since I'm going to be cutting and I just want to get to the field and just get right to it, is I'm going to give this thing a full greasing. So it's just completely ready to go. If you ever wonder about greasing, a good rule of thumb is if it moves, it more than likely has a grease fitting. On applications this old, it's pretty rare to find something with sealed bearings. They do exist, but it's not as common as newer equipment. So pretty much everything that spins, pivots, moves, whatever, is going to have a little nipple on it. One very scientific method I've found to pre-drilling holes is to put it up on whatever you're going to drill on, line it up where you want it, and take one of your daughter's markers and make a little spot so you know where to put the drill bit. Now if you're real lucky and your drilling went exactly as according to plan as you hoped it would, I should be able to see light through both of them, and I do. Like I said, scientific. Now the trick is to find 2 bolts with matching nuts and some washers that fit. Wow, would you look at that? And just like that, that ain't going anywhere. I think what I'm going to do to clean up this whole tie situation, probably just flip this up and tie it straight to this pillar here with some baling twine, because none of that shifts around and moves, and then I'll figure out something over the winter that's a little more permanent and a bit cleaner. Well, that just about gets it for the hay bind, so it should be ready to roll to the field now, and I think that's what we're going to do tomorrow right after work, is we're going to take it right out and get her set up, because in a few days time she'll be getting to cutting. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned because we're right on the cusp of a hay cut, so we'll see you there.